Hello guys and welcome back to another faction overview guide for the Lord of the Rings TotalWar mod for Run Remastered. Just going to dive in straight into today's video today, and today we're going to be talking about Rhun. And of course we'll go over the four things: the initial settlements and their starting locations, the initial army you start with, the economy excuse me, of the faction, and then lastly just some early expansion tips that I would recommend for the faction in your campaigns. So first, just the starting settlements. You start off with four. You have Belkoth here to the north. You have Roman, which is your capital, Rhun, and then Mataram. The settlements, despite being fairly underdeveloped, they have a decent amount of population. So it gives you the I guess it gives you the ability, so I was trying to think of the word to use, to kind of focus on what you want to build. Your economy isn't the worst thing in the world, and you have a good amount of treasury. So, depending on, what units you want to build or train, you can go military a little bit, but also go with economy. Really, it's just in terms of, of what you could build. It's really up to you, because you got tier 2 at Rhun, tier 1, but you're 220 population away with a 4% growth rate. So you're going to be hitting tier 2 very, very soon. Rhun is already ready to go to tier 3. Roman is on the verge of going to tier 4. And same with Belkoth is, not too far away from tier 3. And in terms of their starting locations, one thing you do need to be on the lookout for is, as you can probably tell, in terms of any other faction in the game, their faction is very spread out. You won't be able to, especially once you move armies out. For example, if I take this army out, leave one unit behind, you'll see the tax or the public order greatly diminishes. If we check it out, you have the squalor and distance to capital. Your distance to capital penalty is huge when playing as a Rhun. Early on, anyway. There are things later on you can do to mitigate that. If we check out the building trees, there should be, if I can find it here, I know there's a building. I apologize. Here it is. The Realm of Rhun, providing the 10% public order. I apologize about that. They do have an access to slaves, but it does come at the cost of public order, so just be on the lookout for that. I know if you've checked out my unit guide video, I talk about using slaves as a good placeholder for public order. But again, it causes public order issues, so don't do it if you take your army out and it already has public order issues. But with that, you'll obviously you take your army out, you're more likely than not going to have to lower your public or your tax rate just to maintain public order for a little bit early on in your campaign, which is going to boost your population growth already, where your population is super high. So just be on the lookout of that, because like Rome Total War, not upgrading your settlements causes further public order, because your settlement is just more crammed. And so your people need room to expand to live comfortably. So just something to be on the lookout for that, because you will be growing fairly quickly, just because you're going to have lower tax rates to start with, because you just don't have the means to maintain public order without keeping a good chunk of your armies inside of your settlements, which actually leads us into the second part of the video, which is the initial army. And you have a lot of troops to start out with. To the north here we have Uldor with 6 units. In Belkoth we have 5. You can take 4 of them. 6 units here in the capital, which I know it says 7, but I always assume you're going to leave 1 unit behind. And then you have 5 units you can take out from Maldim, and then you have 5 units from Allrath. We'll talk about it more later on with the army, because a lot of it does determine on the expansion part of the video that I will discuss later on. Because you'll just see a lot of the rebel settlements have a very large garrison, and your troops aren't necessarily the best. And with that being said, with the army, if you check out my unit guide, I explain it there, but I highly recommend getting the Easterling Warblades because they do armor-piercing damage, which you will be going up against dwarves quite a bit as your main army for a very long time. And with the amount of distance that you have to travel, building the road building to allow faster movement, and basically just constantly training Warblades, as long as you're not financially broke. Because by the time like 1 or 2 units get up there, you need to have like 1 or 2 more units on their way to get into that army. But it's not a bad idea either to consolidate some of the armies. So to bring like the forces in Roman and Mataram together and then attack. You can use Rhun to even meet up with them, and then use Belkoth to kind of support Uldor here to the north. But really, the units you start out with in the game are really good. The General's Bodyguard are probably the best unit you have at your disposal early on, but the Warblades are very good. The Easterling Warbows and Clansman Archers are also really good. Just be aware that Clansman units take 3 turns to recruit, while Warblade, Easterling units start taking 2. So it's why a lot of times in my campaigns I'll focus on like Roman being my military and Rhun being my military, just like cities, just because they have a very high population already, while Mataram and Belkoth are kind of mixed. Or Mataram I actually use just pretty much straight economy, just because it's not near anything. But Belkoth, it's a little bit of both. If you are winning against the dwarves early on, you can start focusing on economy a little bit. And then go more military. But if you're just really in a pinch and need more military, then I would highly recommend getting your military infrastructure sorted out first. But all in all, it kind of leads us here into the economy section of the video. The Rhun economy is very strong. It has a very high potential despite being very spread out. Largely depends on the expansion that you do and connecting all the settlements and centralizing your capital. Mistran is a settlement right here, which you'll see when I toggle the Fog of War and later on in the video. But it's a very good, somewhat centralized position where it helps mitigate the public order issues that you will be having, especially as your population continues to increase. Those public order problems and squalor are only going to increase. So it's really vital that you find a place where you can centralize your empire. But in terms of economy, Rhun is one of the better factions in the game that really utilizes the road system, that has access to it anyway. It's just really, really useful to not only increase your trade, but it's also to increase the amount of movement that your armies have. As you can kind of expect, if you face a really big army of dwarves or Dale or whoever it may be, and you take a heavy loss, it's going to take a very long time for your units to come back and get retrained and get replenished. So it's almost like a constant caravan system that I usually have in my campaigns, where I have an army, say, fighting out here to the northwest, but I have 5 or 6 troops, kind of marching towards them, assuming I'm going to take some losses, that I will need those units replaced. That way, by the time I do a fight or have a unexpected battle or whatever it may be, I'm only 1 or 2 turns away from getting reinforcements, instead of having to march 6 or 8 turns to come back here and fully replenish. So roads are really, really important, not only for trade, but also for your armies. And then it's your basic, you have trading posts to help with trade. You'll have farms as well. And then various military buildings that also will help you. The slave conscription, it's not the worst building in the world. It's a really good economic building. But just, again, don't build it just because you can. Build it when you have a healthy amount of public order. If we go into the building tree and we find the slave building, right here, the slave selection, when it gets up to tier 4, it's a negative 20% decrease to public order, but it does, decrease your construction cost. It increases your trade by 200%, increases your farm production, and also increases your population growth. So it's all really good economic things, but at the same time, don't cause a revolt in your settlement just because you're building slaves. So just something to be on the lookout for there. But overall, once Rhun does have access, and build up its economic infrastructure, it's really, really good. I cannot emphasize enough. Really look, if you can build roads from a settlement, build roads. Connecting your cities, via roads is just really good for you, because it not only helps your economy, but it helps your army, especially because I did forget to mention this in the army section, but Rhun, kind of like Gondor, has a region recruitment kind of system. Same with Rohan, where they can't just recruit all of their units everywhere. Same with like the dwarves. The dwarven units are in the mountains. The hirelings are out in the plains. Because not every territory will be able to build stables, the barracks, and the armory. Some will only get to do the barracks and the armory, so it's just something to be on the lookout for, depending on the units you have. You won't be able to, it may take you even longer to retrain certain units, to get back in terms of recruiting, just because, you're miles and miles away. So again, roads, caravan system in terms of the economy and your military, getting some unit. I know this is a diplomat, but just to show you, you have a unit, say, right there. Then you have another unit, on their way there. You have another unit, here, and they're all, say you have an army up here, they're all moving towards that area, right? Because you can see here that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 turns. It can be very detrimental to your campaign, whether you're expanding or you're trying to, set a border and you're trying to defend that border from somebody, and you're having to take your whole army or a good portion of your army, at least 5 turns just to get back, or to a settlement where you can retrain, or even like Uldor here to the north, it takes 2 turns, from where he's currently standing. If I build a tower, I think you'll be able to see the settlement. So yeah, if we take Redwater here, that's going to be 4 turns. So really, roads are going to be a very, very big part of your campaign, in my opinion. And then lastly, we'll talk about the expansion. I'll go toggle the Fog of War here. They have a lot at their disposal in terms of expansion. If I just zoom out here a little bit, you guys will see there are a lot of rebel settlements when playing as Rhun. Even here to the south. However, I don't recommend going south at all, for various reasons. For one, the garrisons are massive. If I just click through them here, all of them have extremely massive garrisons. Yes, they are very safe settlements, but they are incredibly massive. And your main threat is going to be the dwarves. And if you don't pay attention to the dwarves will overpower you. In terms of just general movement, it'll take you ages to get your main armies from the south here, all the way back up here to the north to defend your settlements. So I've played like 5 or 6 Rhun campaigns. I've gone to the south once, and it's just not worth the time and resources. Early on anyway. It's something you can look into later on in the campaign when the dwarves are either finished or less of a threat, or Dale's less of a threat, but early on it is not the play, in my opinion, because it just draws your forces away from the main fight up here to the north and northwest, and it's just not valuable enough to take these settlements rather than the settlements here to the west. Which, speaking of the west, you have the dwarves are, if you've checked out the Iron Hills video guide, you'll know that they are a kind of separated empire to start with. So you do have dwarves to the north as well here to the west. Their forces are not large, as you can tell, but they are very strong. But they'll usually tend to focus on some of these settlements up here. Same with Dale. They'll expand a little bit, but not too far. So you have time if you want to take Gugavad or Kelliper. Obviously, Mistran, that's the settlement I was talking to you guys about earlier. That's kind of centralized. And then, however the heck you say this one, or I'm going to say S Westa and then Lest. All really good, small garrison settlements to take that let you, expand your empire, get more tax rate from the population. Same with Redwater. And it also provides you, I kind of use Redwater as a good outpost in terms of, obviously it's a settlement, but it's a good, lookout position because you can start building towers out here because it's got a fairly large province itself. So you're able to see, you can build towers here to the south, to the west, and to the north, and basically see okay, I know Dale has an army right here that could be coming to attack me. I see, the dwarves are bringing an army here to the south to attack me. And if they take it, it's not a big deal. It's really just about having that line of sight, basically, to know okay, I need to start building more troops here, or I need to send more forces up here to the north because I have a bigger force to deal with up here as well. With expansion, always build watchtowers. If I just quickly toggle the fog of war here, if I decided not to take Redwater and I sent this army to the west or further south to just consolidate down here to the south, at least I have this tower here providing some line of sight where even if the dwarves take it, I can see okay, the dwarves are coming down here to Belkoth, so at least I know when they're coming. But other than that, Redwater again is a good one, and then taking these 3 settlements here is also a very good easy expansion, as well as Mistran and Lest. I don't tend to push in too far west. In my campaigns, Mordor has conquered some of these, and again, you want to expand while also keeping an eye out on your enemy. So if the dwarves start taking quite a few settlements and getting stronger, you don't just want to keep cleaning up these rebel settlements that have fairly large garrisons as well, while the dwarves are sending an army to the east and cleaning up your weakly defended settlements. It's really important, in my opinion. Get your easy settlement, easy rebel settlements, picked up, improve your economy, improve your infrastructure economically, and then once you have a good kind of expansion to your empire, then focus on the dwarves and just get rid of the dwarves. There are going to be some very hard fights there, I can guarantee you that, but just get rid of them. They're such a headache, they're such a pain, they won't go away. Even if you leave them with one settlement, they'll just keep being a pain in your ass. Really, in terms of expansion overall, get some of the easy rebel settlements, to the north and to the northwest here, depending on where you're looking out from, and then just focus on the dwarves. Get rid of the dwarves. You can take out their capital and then move south, or start from the south and then move north, and then kind of merge your armies, to then take on Dale. Because usually in my campaigns, I've seen Dale will have a full stack or a full stack and a half just sitting right here on their borders, because they will expand and they'll just be sitting here, almost just being like bring it on, bitch kind of thing. They're just waiting for you to come into their territory. So just something to be on the lookout for there. But that is the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it's a little bit of a longer one. There's just a lot to talk about with Rhun. But overall, in summary, kind of here in the conclusion, big things are public order issues. Maintaining your public order, it will be difficult. As Rhun early on in the campaign, building roads will help with your economy as well as your campaign movement range for your armies. And then just, taking out the big threats with the dwarves and solidifying your empire. And really just making smart decisions on which settlements to take, rather than deciding on whether it's something you can worry about later on down the road, like rebel settlements with very large garrisons and those settlements here to the south. But that is, again, the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys have not already. And don't forget to go and check out the Rhun unit guide that I will have connected here to the end of this video in case you guys haven't seen that. So until I see you guys, have a good one, and I will see you guys again later. Bye.